Did you know that hair loss does not come alone? It's stacked. With that and more, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Hair Wire. And welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Hair Wire, the place where you, my friends, get hair smart. I'm your host, Sergio Cardona, alongside with Biz and Dipsy. Biz, how you doing?
Good. The weather in Florida started to warm up finally.
Finally.
Did you know that we
There's
had?
going to be some storm weather next week, so it's going to be
Uh,
crazy still for a lot of places.
did you know that we have 1 week with 0 degrees temperature? Like
Oh,
zero.
my Lord.
I know. Like it was 32 the whole time.
And we're talking about Florida. So
I forgot about Florida.
that's the thing, because if it were another state, then all right, but no, we're talking about Florida, baby.
I know. There was snow on the
Not
beach.
the same. It's not the same. It doesn't happen like that all the time.
There
I
was
know
snow
it's
on the beach. People will swim. I mean, I didn't do that, but people can swim and play with the snow at the same time.
that's crazy. Going to the beach and playing with snow, that's crazy. I
It
mean,
is.
who would have thought about, that would be possible? I mean, you're talking to a guy who lives in an island, so I cannot relate to that ever. The idea of having
Yep.
beach and snow are two concepts that are, completely far away from my
Or-
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot relate. Simple. I cannot
Yeah.
relate to that. But it is amazing to see, of course, uh, the different seasons and the weather. It's
I know.
something phenomenal. I know a lot of people say, "Well, you live in an island. I cannot relate to that." And I'm like, "Yes, but you guys have the snow.
Yeah.
We have the snow all year long. I know it. Hey, I know I have here in the island like thousands of people coming from across the United States, ditching the cold.
Yeah.
And
100%. I will do
at
that.
the same time, you have a lot of people locally traveling to see the cold.
It's always the other side is always greener.
Yeah, exactly. Now, this week I had a beautiful blonde girl, right? And she dyes her hair red.
Ah,
And the thing is, everybody's telling her, you have such beautiful blonde hair. Why you dye it red? She's like, well, I like to have a darker color in my hair. And I'm like, everybody who has a darker color wants to be
who wants to
blonde.
be
But you're
lighter,
blonde,
right?
yeah, you want it darker, that's insane. That's crazy. And that's human nature. That's how
Mhm.
we are. We like to, and as you said, the pasture is green anywhere else.
Yeah, but actually, yeah, I know. It is like philosopher says that the grass is green where you water it, but we human beings don't actually like really how do you say that? Like invest in that. So it's just because of our human being nature, I guess.
Yeah, it's just the way it is. But hey, guys, today we have an amazing show. Today we're going to be talking about, how our hair loss is not a single factor thing. It's always comes in multiples. And this can be very daunting for a lot of people to understand because unfortunately, we all want that simple one product cure,
Yeah.
and it doesn't exist, unfortunately. No matter how hard we try, no matter how many times we use minoxidil or any other one solution that it's out there. I mean, we even see people trying to address their hair loss by only using laser. And I'm a fan of laser. I love laser therapy, but I know that it's not a standalone treatment. It cannot do the job by itself. You need to
Mhm.
accompany it with other stuff and dealing with all the different situations that are affecting the hair loss. Now, Bess, I want to start asking you, what are some of the most common combinations of hair loss, or at least situations that are driving people's hair loss in your clinic? The most common things that you see.
Nutrient deficiencies. Nowadays, because of the Ozempic flare up and
Yeah.
Manjaro, I have a lot of clients, an influx of clients with a GLP-1. I call it GLP-1 induced hair loss. Remember we called it COVID hair loss, and I think now we should just call it that way. And because the people are rushing into this GLP-1 medications, even though I saw some of the clients, they really don't need it, but I guess it's just a trend and everybody is on the wagon right now. And because of the GLP-1 medication, a lot of people having digestive problems, a lot of people having nutrient deficiencies, and even at a younger age. Now, of course, the older the person is, the more complicated the response is going to be. But when they are younger, also it will hit them, and it will hit them, especially younger women, younger moms. It will hit them with like brain fog, or it will mess up with their hormones just because their body is under a lot of stress from the GLP-1. So yeah, I mean, these days is like an influx of people with nutrient deficiencies, and so as you said, it is not one factor. So it starts with nutrient deficiencies because of the medication, right? That is the first factor that affects it, slows down the digestive system. Subsequently, you will have nutrient deficiencies. But what happened that people don't understand is like, oh, okay, now people are catching up. Oh, okay, no problem. I'll take probiotics, so I will counter effect that GLP-1. That's great. That's a great start. But people, what they don't understand, it's not only that. It's, as you said, it's stacking. So it starts with nutrient deficiencies. Then this nutrient deficiencies will cause hormonal imbalance. Hormonal imbalance causes a lot of stress on the adrenal glands. Adrenal glands will increase the cortisol. The cortisol increases at night, causes them sleepless night. Sleepless night will cause them more and more stress during the day. So see how it is just a vicious cycle. So it is not only I can't hear you, Sergio. It is not only multifactorial, as Sergio was saying. It is stacking one, and it's an exponential stack. Not only 1 + 1 = 2. It goes exponentially. We can't hear you, Sergio.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, now you're good.
Nah. All right, sorry. I like what you mentioned, about the stacking process, because I like to think of it as, when you have a dam and, it's been raining and the dam finally overflows, and,
Right.
you see that water rushing in. And I see hair loss pretty much like this,
Mm-hmm.
you're building into different factors that are that could affect hair loss. For instance, I read recently about this lady saying that her ferritin levels has always been low,
Mm-hmm.
yet she has not been experiencing hair loss
Mm-hmm.
up until something extra else happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that is precisely what we are saying, because
That's
you
a
may
good.
have been experiencing maybe gut related issues
Right.
for eons, for ages in your life, right?
Right.
And they have never triggered a hair loss induced situation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not up until finally something kicks in,
Yeah.
maybe that brick that finally, breaks the dam.
Correct.
And it's not until that threshold is, goes through. And unfortunately, for a lot of our customers, our patients, our friends, they need to understand that, because because you know that stress can induce hair loss, does not mean that just because you had divorce, you're going to have a hair loss event. Does
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily mean that. Just
Right.
because you had a change in medication does not necessarily mean that that will trigger your hair loss. There's a possibility to it, but each body is unique. And you were mentioning something very particular, is body stress.
Right.
And body
Right.
stress comes in as a multifactorial thing, where little stress are accumulating into my body, and my body finally bursts out, screams out, and sometimes in the form of hair loss.
Right.
And it's quite amazing to see that, because unfortunately, as you were mentioning, Biz, whenever we want to tackle hair loss, yes, we understand the common factors, but are all of this, am I only going to be uh, addressing my hair loss from a cosmetic perspective, or am I going to be using medication? Am I going to be drawing a plan to tackle my dietary issues? Am I going to be able to do all of those things in combination to properly, lower that threshold and finally get my hair loss under control?
Right.
What do you think on that, Biz?
Yeah, that's the whole reason we are doing the hair wire, to educate people that hair loss is not one simple answer. It is multifactorial, indeed, and the more a trichologist will learn about how the factors affect your body homeostasis or balance, the more the trichologist will be able to help you find the root cause of hair loss. So in any case, when you talk about multifactorial means it will, like you said, when we have so much stress in our body over the years, one after a year, we'll have like small episodes of telogen effluvium that when we are younger, we will be resilient to it in a way. Our body will come back out from whatever stressful event that you went through. Either that is going to be emotional stress event, or it's going to be like sickness kind of an event. So our bodies will get out of it really quickly, and probably you may lose some hair, probably you won't even lose any of the hair, because you were resilient. Your body still can be able to address all these issues. However, by time, when, like you said, it's like a battle, it's like a dam. By time we're just adding these things over and over again, what's happening is our body can't take it anymore. And not only that, we talked about that in a couple of episodes before. We talk about that we live in a toxic world. That means, unfortunately, after the agricultural revolution, our food is not whole anymore. Our food is, so even the soil is depleted from nutrients. So even now, even at like younger age, at 18, 19, they are not eating whole foods. So they are not building their immune system. They are not building their resilience. And I bet you, Sergio, in 10, 20 years, hair loss is going to, and probably you see it right now, hair loss is going to start at really younger age, at 20. Not like in our generation, we started having clients around 30, 40. Believe me, probably 5 years from now, you're going to see influx of children hair loss, of teenage hair loss, because of the nutrient deficiencies in the food itself. So the body itself is not building itself properly anymore. Plus the toxic loads around us, the EMFs around us, the 4G, the 5G, all of these, we really don't know. Some people think it's a conspiracy theories. We really don't know. It's not like 100% that we know that if you live under a 5G, that it's going to be affecting your health in any way. Some people say no, 100%. And some people say yes, 100%. I say we don't know. Yeah. We don't know. And it's better to be away from these towers, 5G job, just because we don't know. In 20 years, we're going to know. But you know what? When in 20 years, we're going to know, it's already too late. It's already too late. And on top of that, it's just our food has already chemicals in it. So on top of that, your children is not actually having good enough food that is full of nutrients. Also, they're getting chemicals, synthesized chemicals in their body. So
microplastics.
Plastics. And so that's why you and I are seeing more hormonal disturbance imbalances in younger ladies, 20s, 30s. They're already in the hormonal imbalance. Even the cycle is not coming properly in 25. Why is that? That is not a biology problem. That is, you're not giving your body the nutrients, the proper nutrients it needs. So we are talking, listen to this, Sergio. We're talking about toxins. We're talking about chemicals. We're talking about invisible toxins around us. We don't know the pollution and all of that. We don't know how much it's affecting us. And That is on a very weak body, on a body that did not get built properly. We are not talking about hair loss anymore. It's beyond that. Hair loss is just the symptom that makes people freak out. But the
Yeah.
symptom, which is good, I always say it's God sent signal that, okay, go stop and go see what is going on. And that's why the hair wire, you and me and Carrie, we always talk about multifactorial hair loss. And we always talk about trichologists, find a trichologist that can understand all these factors. Of course, not all of us understands all of the things. But at least when we have a hub like the hair wire or the faculty of trichology, for example, if a Sergio have a client with gut problems, he will give me a call. Bisan, look at this, the blood work. What do you think? If I think this is a problem, a lady with toxic sebum, and I don't have a lot of experience in that, I'll give him a call. Anyway, we have to be a community because hair loss is not only multifactorial, it's as Sergio put it, it's stacked and it is exponentially stacking by time with how much chemicals we are eating, with the toxins we are getting bombarded with. And we as a trichologist, trichology is very underfunded, means that not a lot of people are doing new research in trichology. Probably you and I were doing some kind of research that is local to our clients, but you and I cannot afford a meta-analysis on like 5,000 people. We need a funded programs to do that. And unfortunately, for some reason, some bizarre reason, the healthcare community in the United States, I'm not sure about the UK, but in the United States, they think that it is not a medical problem. Hair loss, in my opinion, it is a medical problem because not only it's going to affect your appearance and it's going to affect how you preserve yourself or how you put yourself out in the world. It's a huge sign that there is very little suboptimal, very little imbalances inside your body that the Western medicine will not be able to figure it out. Why? Again, because the Western medicine is doctors, including dermatologists, with all due respect, they are trained to if you're sick, to make you feel better, right? But when you have hair loss, you're not sick yet. You're gonna be sick in 5 years. Hair loss is a sign that something wrong inside your body. That's why when a lot of people I see in our group don't go to a dermatologist, don't go to a trichologist. Dermatologists will know better. They know better about skin problems. Yes, 100%. They don't know about your gut. They are not GI practice people. They don't know about to read your hormones properly. They are not trained to do that. They are not trained to be a dietitian. They are not trained to be a nutritionist. And I'm not saying that trichologists are trained to do that. No, it's just we are educated enough to tell you where you should focus your next step is in a way. And we do have niches, right? Like I have a gut microbiome niche, then I can actually help you to do that because I studied how we can rebalance the gut and so forth. And everybody has a niche, and that's the whole point of doing all these shows. That's the whole point of educating people, because as you said, it's a stack. Hair loss is a stack, and we need to, like an onion, we need to go one layer at a time.
Yeah.
And we need to ask for help, and we need to see who can the best person to help you in this situation.
Definitely. Now, I want to piggyback on many of the things that you mentioned, but seems like everything that you just mentioned leads to people become desperate when they see the hair loss because they're not trying to figure out the root cause. They're just seeing a symptom, and they will go to their physician and I have these symptoms. What can we do about these symptoms? So here comes the one solution. Here
Correct.
comes the one shampoo, the one pill, the one lotion. And unfortunately, as you mentioned, Biz, because there's lack of training on this particular areas, that we see that many of our friends in the medical industry, they lack knowledge, so they will of course recommend what they know, what they have been
Right.
trained to basically prescribe. And that's okay, That's okay, because as you mentioned, unfortunately, there's this part of science is so underfunded that there are not enough studies to basically validate or corroborate. Actually, there has been a couple of studies that are starting to show. One in particular was from 2025 about the multiple effects that different situations have on hair loss, and it's something that's starting to come out.
Yeah.
Something we already know this 30 years ago. We already
Yeah.
knew this 30 years ago, and now you're starting to see some resemblance of studies telling us what we already know. And
Mhm.
here's the thing, guys, um, simple one solution is not going to cut it,
Right.
unfortunately. Yes, we're desperate. Yes, we want solutions. But yes, I want it to be simple. I want it to be able to wash my hair once a month or something like that.
Yeah.
And drink the magic pill and know that by tomorrow I will have my full length of
Right.
hair.
Yeah.
I mean, we all wish that would be true, but it
Yeah.
is not the case. So we understand that there's value in, first of all, addressing all the different situations that are related to my hair health. So, for instance, we were mentioning about gut and nutritional deficiencies. And this is something very important because when it comes to nutrition and gut, basically there's two sides of the coin. First of all, are you eating? Are you consuming the nutrients that your body needs? And second, is your body actually absorbing them? That's two completely separate subjects right there. And there's like hundreds miles away one from the other. And yet they collide in our bodies. And, you know, maybe I'm eating right. Maybe I'm doing all the supplements that there is on earth, right? And I'm having such a great nutrition. And why my blood work says different? Why my epigenetic testing says different? Why, when I consult with a functional medicine practitioner, all the tests show something different?
Right.
And the key again is understanding that there are different factors that need to be tackled in simultaneously in order to achieve my goal. So if my goal is to stop the shedding, to keep the hair that I have, I need to assess many areas in my life in order to understand that it is not just because I had a recent traumatic event that is driving my hair loss. That might have been, you know, the drop that burst the whole thing up, but it is just one little piece of a larger situation, of a larger puzzle, if we may. So, one of the things that we like to recommend to our viewers, and you're not a trichologist, you're not an expert, what can you do, right? So, the first thing that I like to do is consider building a timeline. And Biz, we love talking about this timeline to keep track of things.
Right.
Um, so, consider when do you start noticing your symptoms, and from there you need to build a timeline. I would say try to go as back as one full year from that moment when you start seeing the situation. Now, Biz, I want to ask you, what are some of the things that you like to tell your customers, your patients, to look after? What are some of the things that they need to consider in that timeline?
So whenever my client comes to my consultation, I bring like a piece of paper and we draw an arrow. Really easy, easy. Draw
Right.
an arrow, and we start from the beginning. Because I always because gut for me is an important factor in dealing with hair loss. I always ask this question: can you remember if you were born naturally or cesarean? Because it's gonna really affect their gut microbiome. naturally delivered babies have their mother's gut, have their mother's bacteria. Babies with C-section, they have a really whatever the hospital bacteria is, right? So we will know, we will start from there. Also, if they're breastfed or having formula, because also it will affect their nutrient levels and also affects their gut microbiome. So that will be my first question. My second question will be, do you remember the health of your mother? Not only the hair loss of your mother, the health of your mother, because if the girl or the boy has been naturally delivered, most likely they're going to have the health of their mother, because guess what? The gut microbiome actually affect your immunity, affect your health as a whole. So if you have a healthy microbiome, you will have a healthy beginning of your life in a way. And then my next question will be, if you have, if you as a baby have any antibiotics, or how many times during your life, if you can remember, took these antibiotics. And then we will switch to when the babies, your children were born. And also because we will consider when children are born is also an effect on your body. So how did your body react when you delivered your baby? Did you have a postpartum hair loss or you did not? So in this one, I'll measure the resilience of this person. So we started with the gut. Okay, will give me an idea about how healthy they are. And then when they have babies in their 20s, will affect their resiliency. Okay, are they having a good body, or they are really so weak, even in their 20s, they have so bad of a postpartum hair loss. And then if that happens, what did you do about your postpartum hair loss? Did it come back really quick, or how long it took to come back again? So that also a measure of their resilience. Also, I will ask what's your diet looks like. Do you eat enough protein? Do you are to the healthier side? I don't have to go and judge people about did you eat potato chips today or not, but it's just generally speaking, because we all do, right? But generally speaking, do you have a healthy diet? My question will be, do you think that you eat 80% healthy and 20% bad? And that's really good. That's really good enough. And because we are bombarded with all these marketing things that we should eat cereal for morning, and we should eat this protein powder for morning that is full of lead and what's not, and we are bombarded with all these things. So it is really hard as a human being to avoid all this behavior all at once. You want to be assimilated in the society. So in a way that when I'm in my med spa and they are giving us champagne, so I'm having a champagne. I'm not going to say, no, I'm not going to have a champagne, because right? So it's like,
it's there.
It's there, and we need to live, and you don't need to be harsh on yourself as well. Whenever you're harsh on yourself as well, being perfect is not good. That's it. So moving on with our timeline, and then my question will be my very important question. This hair loss that you are complaining to me about, that you came to me about today, when did it start? So, and then we will kind of take all these factors, and I will average out their resilience, their health, their how they perceive themselves as well, because that's emotional and mental health. And then we will assess when this thing started. Like now, remember, Sergio, we used to say, if you have telogen effluvium, go back 3-4 months, what happened? That's not true anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
With COVID hair loss, we learned that people are getting hair loss 2 weeks after. With GLP-1 hair loss, I am seeing that people are getting hair loss right away. So it's not true only 3 or 4 months before. So we have to know where this client is at and then deal with that root cause. Of course, that root cause is the like you said, the stone that made all the water comes out, right? But it is not the only reason. Yeah. Going back to your stacking, it's not the only reason. It is the last straw that broke the whole barrel. If you go backwards, if you can see it in a timeline, oh, the postpartum was really bad. Oh, the liver is not functioning properly. She had a surgery here. She had a event like a traumatic event right there. He is very stressed at work. He stays in his office for 9 hours. He doesn't go out, doesn't see the sunshine under white light, and staring at a computer screen and wondering why he's having hair loss. So the timeline is very important. It will give you the big picture of, you will understand the person in front of you, right? And also it will give you a hints where to look at and where you should focus on that in your treatment plan.
I like what you mentioned, Biz, because we as professionals, we see this very often. We help our clients build the timeline, but we make the interpretation of
Right.
that timeline.
100%.
And that is very key, the interpretation of that timeline. Unfortunately, if you're not a trichologist, if you did not study this, a lot of events may not make sense to you, but it does make sense to us. So I would say, if you are experiencing hair loss right now, and you want to start somewhere, start building a timeline of events that may have affected your nutrition, your gut, your stress levels, your hormone levels, any illnesses, anything that could trigger inflammation in your body, even if it's a sprained ankle, even the smallest things. Consider every time you try a new supplement, every time you were prescribed a new medication, or even the change of a dose of a medication. Consider how you style your hair. Do you hold your hair in a ponytail? Do you braid your hair? Do you use hair extensions? So we need to consider all of these factors, even genetics, because not everything is genetics. Nowadays, now we understand that, but even genetics. And when it comes to genetics, I want to know about my grandparents, both grandma and grandpa, on both sides of the family, my mom and dad, my uncles and aunts on both sides, my brothers and sisters. So once I have that genetic background, then maybe I can trace it down. When did they experience their hair loss? When did they experience it early in life? Did they experience it late onset? So those type of information allows us to understand what's really happening. So you may say, well, I'm not a trichologist. I'm doing the timeline. This is giving me, great advice. I'm kind of learning into what really happened to me. That's great. Take that timeline to someone who can help you interpret that timeline.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
It's great that you now have a better understanding,
Yep.
but find someone who can help you build a solution. And I say build a solution because, as we have been saying during the show, it's not a one factor thing. So yes, I need to address the gut. Yes, I need to address the stress. Yes, I need to address the external situations that are experiencing in my scalp. For instance, if the pH level of my scalp is out of whack, if I'm experiencing a growth on bacteria, fungus, parasites, that's something that needs to be addressed. Am I experiencing a lot of oiliness? Am I experiencing itching, burning sensation, dry scalp, even dandruff? So is my hair thinning? Is my hair breaking? Is my hair very frizzy? All of those things are things that need to be addressed simultaneously into the process, because I cannot, and I repeat this, I cannot address a hair loss situation with just one shampoo, one product. That's not going to happen. And even though we have said in this show many times, there's a placebo effect that comes into play many times when you start this one solution. When you started this biotin supplement, right? And this biotin supplement, oh my gosh, such a great biotin supplement. I grew 3 inches of hair in 2 weeks. This is fantastic.
Let me say one thing about biotin, just please. Sorry to cut you off. There is no person on planet Earth, even if they have malnutrition area, is deficient in biotin. Biotin is B7, vitamin B7. Nobody on Earth is actually deficient in vitamin B7. The problem is here, Sergio, we are actually working against TikTok and snake oil and biotin stuff. And that is really hard because, as you said, the temptation is there. I'll take biotin and everything will be great. Biotin is a marketing spam because, it's just not true anyway. Biotin, because they figured out that it is so cheap to manufacture biotin, so they make they make a big marketing campaign out of it, and it becomes so viral. And people, as you said, they think if I take biotin, my hair will grow. It's the placebo effect, because as you said, and we always say that hair loss is 50% emotional as well. So you are dealing with, if you take biotin and you think that, oh, that's gonna, if you're convinced if that biotin is gonna make your hair grow, it will make your hair grow for a short period of time, only for the next 2-3 months, until that effect, that emotional effect, goes away, and then the reality hit. And the reality hit is that the hair loss is multifactorial. The reality is you have to have a timeline to see where your hair loss started, and you have to study your body resilience. That's two things you need to do, because hair loss is internal and external. Doing one thing by itself is not going to work. Doing both together, it's going to bring your hair back. And we proved that over and over again. We can reverse hair loss to a certain extent. Nobody can reverse hair loss 100%, because we are dealing with follicles that may die, or secretional follicles anyway, that we cannot really know that they already died during all the lifespan of the person. Especially for people, when we look at the timeline, if the people, like a person has so many multiple occasions of telogen effluvium. Telogen effluvium is the easiest actually hair loss to work with, because most of the time it is reversible. But when it is too many times, or one episode after the other, it actually can unmask androgenetic alopecia if you're genetically predisposed to have androgenetic alopecia. So we will be dealing with telogen effluvium, one of the easiest hair loss to reverse. And what we did is we didn't deal with it properly. We didn't address the root cause properly during all our lifetime. Then by this time, but by 40s, by 50s, it's already unmasking something that is really hard to deal with, which is androgenetic alopecia. Androgenetic alopecia is really hard because it's the main cause, or the root cause of androgenetic alopecia is your genes. And we cannot, we can, of course, epigenetic, and we can turn on and off the genes and all of that, but to a certain extent as well. So if you put androgenetic alopecia with telogen effluvium, with toxin overload, with the nutrient deficiencies, with no resilience of this body at all, with the emotional stress that hair loss will affect on people, men and women. People think that it affects women only, like emotionally. No, it affects men emotionally equally as women. Because people will think, what is wrong with me? Why I'm having this hair loss? And hair loss is scary, especially when we have long hair and we have a lot of hair. To look at it by itself, it's scary. So it will trigger also emotional response. So when we look at all these factors on a timeline, so you need to assess where you are at. So for you listeners who are at home, now you know all what you need to do is bring a piece of paper like this, draw a line, start from here. This is where you born, cesarean or natural delivery, how your microbiome looked like. You have breastfed or formula, how many times you got sick, as much as you remember. Of course, nobody remembers all these things. Were you taking antibiotics, where you didn't take antibiotics? Were your mom big fan of antibiotics? We were, at our generation, we were big fan of antibiotics. Now we are learning that antibiotics are good for some particular reasons, but if you don't take probiotics with the antibiotics, you are hurting your gut microbiome. So you guys do it at home and see where triggers are, how your resilience were, how many times you did postpartum hair loss, how many times you had hair loss just because you were sick. Did you have a COVID hair loss? That's a very important question to ask as well, because if you have a COVID hair loss, that means your body is not resilient enough to counteract what COVID did to you. So all of these questions, ask yourself these questions, draw this timeline, and if you want, you ask us, because This is why we are doing all these episodes. We're trying to educate people how to figure out where the hair loss is coming from. And when you figure it out, it's already 50% of the solution. The other 50, me and Sergio will take care of that.
Definitely, definitely. Guys, if you're seeking for professional help, visit thehairwire.com and you can ask for a consultation with Carrie, with Bisan, and myself. And we're here to help you guys. But most importantly, we're here to educate. And we want you guys to understand that, dealing with hair loss is something that it is complicated, but it can be resolved. You can keep the hair that you have, you can increase the volume, you can make it look better than what it is today, even if that means that it does not necessarily will be as good as it was when you were a teenager. But at least you're doing something to help you keep the hair that you have and improve the quality and the quantity of the hair that you still have today. And that is key in this episode, guys. You need to focus on the multiple factors, and when you do, you try to address all of those factors. And I want to share something before we go. I have my fair share of cases where I have drawn the line and I've been tackling all of the symptoms, all of the factors simultaneously, at least the ones that I knew that were there. And
Yes.
for some reason,
Yeah.
either by omission from my customers, from my patients, or maybe by my mistake, because I'm human, I make mistakes. I may have neglected an area, and I did not treat that single area right there just because of that little thing. I did everything else right, but I missed this. I did not get the results and the expected time. And when we reassess, we figure out, oh, we missed this. Now we
Mhm.
can incorporate this into the regime, and we go at it again. And finally, now we start seeing the solution. And because we have been addressing all of the other circulating issues, we are reducing the threshold, getting that hair shedding at bay, getting it under control, and making sure that this type of situation, uh, not that it will never happen again, but if it does, at least we will know that it will be less intense, because by then you will be so equipped with not only with information but strategies that will help you get it under control quicker, faster, and see better results than the first time. And
Mhm.
that, my friend, is why you see a trichologist. All
You know,
right,
you just gave me an idea. It
go
just
ahead.
gave me a visual idea. We should put in our clinics, beside, in front of the client, a board, an electronic board, and like put the what's called the timeline, right? And the consultation, you're gonna write here and there. You're gonna write all the episodes that they went through and their history and all of that, right? That is in your first consultation. Every time they stay in your chair, put it up again. And while you're treating them, people gonna look at their timeline. Oh, I remember here this happened and here that happened.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to add. We need to.
We need to add, and then you go and add it. Really, it's a brilliant idea. And then
Yeah.
every time they come, and then you adjust depending on what they said, because people, we tend to forget and we want to
Yeah.
forget. We do
Oh,
want to forget what happened to us, especially the bad things. And,
yeah.
you know, so in a way that
Some
every
people like to
time,
forget with alcohol,
I
but
mean, right? It's even worse. But like literally, if you put it in front of them, they're gonna keep remembering things and you're gonna keep adding to that timeline. And then probably it's gonna be a therapeutic thing for them, because they're getting them out of their system, putting them on a board, creating that bad thing that happened to them is the solution for their hair loss. So it's gonna
that's
be also therapeutic.
that's brilliant. I like that. So you
I'm
heard it,
gonna buy
guys. You heard
I'm gonna buy a board and put it somewhere.
it. Start building your board, start building your timeline, and track down the things that had happened to your life that could potentially trigger your hair loss. Perhaps you will find a better understanding, and perhaps you might find a way to get it under control faster. Be happy, my friends. We want to wrap this up. Biz, thank you. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Of
We
course,
want
thank
to thank
you.
you guys for staying tuned today. God bless you all. We'll see you next week. Next week. Till then, bye bye.